Welcome to the inaugural episode of The Films Have Guys. I'm Alex Kandaris, show creator, editor, and a 200-pound rat in a full man suit. We experienced a number of difficulties as far as this recording goes, speaking both on the technical sides and just on our big doo-doo dumb brain person heads. You know, word to the wise, no matter how much you think it fits your podcast thematically, it's probably not a good idea to record yourself in a rocking wicker chair. We also done goofed in the amount of content that we tried to bring to this week's episode. I ended up having to personally spend around 5 hours cutting 30 minutes without trying to drop continuity. So, that being said, in the future, you shouldn't expect hour-and-a-half long episodes out of us because, quite frankly, I'm too fucking lazy. I hope you enjoy this episode, and if you don't, I hope you enjoy giving us a second chance. Thanks for your time.
Perfect. Kitty cat! Come on, I got some soup and a sandwich for you.
Prove a fucking point.
Hello and welcome to The Films Have Guys. We are half horror review podcast, half civil disagreement about whose week it is to change the litter box. I'm your host for the week, Alex Kandaris. Let's do a roll call, boys.
I am Alex Hickson.
It is not my week to change the litter. I am Tanner Cox.
Please don't eat the mic. Please refrain. Our levels are doing wild. Our levels are doing I'm gonna have to cut this. We checked levels with you guys sitting back.
Okay, I didn't realize how pumped up I'd be when we were actually recording. I just had to get in here.
Fucking hell.
Hello?
No, stop. We're gonna start clipping.
Oh, you got the beginning of Alex's intro with me going.
Fucking Alex is quoting AFB over here. All right, so really quickly, I don't want to linger on it too much, but let's just say kind of what our format's going to be. So each episode, and we're doing bi-weekly at this point, or we're shooting for it. Each episode, someone different out of the crew will choose a movie, and will choose to either pick a good movie, preferably, or do what I did this week and choose the worst. Choose the worst movie. So I'm literally opening up this casket and closing it at the same time. We are talking about Tara Subkoff's magnum opus, #horror. And
So we're calling it magnum opus.
And if you haven't heard of it before, that's you're probably within the majority of people. I found it back in 2015 when it did a limited run on Netflix for a while. I understand that it's been taken off at this point.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank fucking God.
You think it just did do well, or
Ooh.
I don't know.
I mean, okay, of horror movies on Netflix, it had to be pretty up
No,
there.
I've
Honestly,
literally
much
watched
worse.
worse.
Honestly, I'll say this: watching it twice in the span of 3 years or 4 years, really fucking good. Still, watching it 4 times in the span of a week, I want to die, boys.
Yeah.
I actually want to die. So let's just let's kind of go in without hopping into the material really quickly. Let's just go on first impressions. So I will say, Alex, I thought you would personally love this film. Tanner, I knew you would 100% hate this film. So just, if you would, hop on my prediction and tell me how close to the mark I hit.
You were close on one of our behalfs, I know that. But on mine, you were incredibly wrong. Because I was pacing my fucking living room back and forth. I hated it. I couldn't even get through the fucking first 30 minutes because it was so bad. But there's enough that kept me sitting down because it was pretty.
Well, there are a
funny.
few incredible performances from a few particular characters. One of them, Timothy Hutton, and I believe he still is the record holder, youngest Oscar winner for a supporting actor in a film. I wouldn't say that he comes with that energy, but he comes with a very different physical energy.
With energy,
He
for
comes-
sure.
A lot of
He
energy.
comes with a
Don't know
whole
if
lot
it's
of energy.
Oscar-winning energy.
Oh, boys.
He has a few Oscar-winning parts in
Yeah.
this movie. It's
I mean,
close.
Other than that, you have Alex Cox, who is played by Chloe Sevigny, who I think most fans would probably recognize at this point from the American Horror Story series. I think she did a job. She showed up.
Good job.
She did a job. She was told what to do. She showed up, and that was more or less the extent of her performance. I didn't think it was absolutely noteworthy. But Tanner, what were your first impressions on the film?
So, I think given a different setting, I could have been into the movie, but I was not. It takes a certain kind of like touch and finesse to do just like a shitty horror film.
Do we think this was intentionally made bad?
Well, and that's what I was gonna say
100,000%.
next.
Okay.
Was like at parts I was guessing whether they were acting terribly on purpose or if they were just terrible actors.
Well, that's where I think that the actors were awful. The acting was 100% awful with the exception of Dr. White.
Yeah.
The star in the film, and the reason I think that is because the movie was definitely stupid just because of like the cutscenes and
The
all of
cutscenes were like I had like 4 seizures.
Yeah, they were they were fucking ridiculous.
Just in the intro alone.
We'll get into that, but I would like to ask either of you boys if you've read up anything on Tara Subkoff, who is the director of this beautiful, lovely film.
Digging something up from this film was a little hard because
There's nothing.
because you got to go in the dark web to find it.
All right, so-
because it's fucking garbage.
Yeah, I had to definitely hack the mainframe to find this information.
Yeah.
But Tara Subkoff, formerly married to Urs Fischer, who was a big contemporary visual artist.
You can tell that she was definitely into art. Like, you don't
Yeah.
put
Yeah,
that much
for sure.
art
And
into a
that's-
movie like that without, like, being into art.
And that's why I personally believe, in my heart of hearts, Tara Subkoff 100% thought she was making a good movie.
You think so?
I 100% believe that. Because
But
she doesn't come
cinematically, it
from-
wasn't artistic.
She has nominal acting experience, but beyond that, she's mostly gotten her praise in the art world, in the fashion world. She is very much the sort of pretentious, I can just step into whatever industry I want types.
Yeah.
And I think that shows. I think that very much shows in sort of the lack of awareness around a lot of topics, especially concerning technology, I would say.
Yeah, it was like a boomer made a video on a movie on how bad
Yeah.
technology is, and I was like, yeah, no, it just felt like someone had never used a smartphone and made this movie about how bad being on your smartphone is.
I did actually check. Tara Subkoff has been on social media since like 2010.
How old?
How old is she?
How old is she?
Okay, she is 46 now. So at the time of
see-
directing this, she would have been just about 40.
See, that's what I'm saying though, is that it does seem like this is what a boomer would think it would be
Yeah.
like. And I'm sure the take on 12-year-olds was probably what she thought it was like. Like, this is what 12-year-olds do.
Yeah.
This is what they do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think she was being artistic or anything like that on purpose. Like, she put art in a movie, and that was on purpose.
Yeah.
But cinematically, there was no pan shots of anything incredible. Everything was meant to be ridiculous. Like, there had to be some level of funny stuff going on in her head.
I think it was more just the sort of eccentricity you get with that type of person that kind of bleeds into it, because she wrote the screenplay as well. So I would imagine that she's sitting there with Timothy Hutton and say, yes, you put your hands on these 12-year-old girls. All right, let's, before we start getting into the actual sequence of events that transpires, I want to go over the characters first so we don't have to keep sort of stopping our synopsis.
Introducing new characters.
Yeah. So we'll just talk. As I said, Timothy Hutton in this film plays Dr. White. His relations, he has a daughter named Kat, who we'll touch on. He's very neurotic. He is a upper class, very well off plastic surgeon. Spends a little bit too much on the time with his phone and not
Too
hanging
much
out with his
gaming.
daughter.
Too much online
too
gaming.
much generic farm
Your
bill.
crops have been harvested.
Hey, 2 of
fucker.
3. He's almost there.
Then, as I said, Chloe Sevigny plays Alex Cox, who... That's kind of why I wanted to bring this movie first into the podcast, just to convolute everything more, since we have 2 Alexes and a Tanner Cox. Alex Cox, another well-off individual, has marital issues with her husband Harry, which we will soon find out. Harry and Alex have a daughter named Sophia, who is an absolute trash girl, I would say.
Oh.
Trash girl.
Yeah, but those are, I would say, those are more auxiliary characters because the bulk of the movie focuses around this group of 5 12-year-old girls having a sleepover, and whoops, things start happening. So getting into the girls, first off, we can start with Kat, I said, daughter of Dr. White. Generally an unstable individual, very heavily into bullying, pretty mean, pretty adroit, I would say. We can address at this point the fact that each of these girls seems to be very one-dimensional and characterized by something specifically that people would bully
They all
other
have
people
one
for.
fatal flaw about them.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Kat is just mental illness. Easy to pick on anyone about that. Next we have Sam. Sam, I think people in the room would agree, is our protagonist.
Yeah.
I think that's safe to say.
I don't even know if Sam is poor though. I think Sam
No,
is
they
middle
live in
class,
the
but to them,
Hamptons.
yeah.
They live in the Hamptons and Upside in Upper New York.
I mean, a house in New York alone.
They're like,
you-
oh, you
No,
don't
it's
live
not-
in
it's not in
Greenwich
New York.
Village?
It's in Connecticut.
Greenwich is in New York, though.
No, it's Greenwich. I'm pretty sure it's Greenwich, Connecticut. Because the other places they were mentioning.
I just know of the
Yeah.
Greenwich in New York, and it's like in the
But-
I was
Hamptons,
thinking New
it's super,
York.
like,
Yeah,
posh.
so there is a Greenwich, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Another location they mentioned was in Connecticut. Parts were shot in Connecticut. Other parts actually were shot in New York, though.
Do they have
So-
any? Does the director have any ties to Connecticut?
She grew up there.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so it is
makes sense,
Connecticut.
yeah.
So in interviews, she would actually say, write what you know, which apparently she was having mass slaughters at her sleepovers growing up, which is always good to know. It's always good to know.
Noted.
But Sam, as we said, is the poor girl. A little bit off kilter, which is something I found really interesting that I want to get into more as we go through the actual plot line. But for now, we'll leave it as she's got some sort of psychiatric something or other going on.
Did the director have any mental illnesses noted or anything? Any big events like
I mean,
that? It's
dude,
true.
she wrote and directed #horror.
It's true. Yeah, that
She
that
deserves
alone
in
could.
itself,
She
is
deserves to be
mental-
locked
That's a
up
symptom.
for good.
Yeah.
Next we have Sophia, she's like the archetype catty rich girl leader of the group. Doesn't have much to complain about, but she complains about everything, including how her new mansion is smaller than her old mansion. Her parents have marital issues, as was touched on. Yeah, I don't see. She's the only one who doesn't feel like she fills one of those stereotypical bullying categories for me.
Yeah, she doesn't have much to really pick on her
Yeah.
about.
And those are, I would say, everyone that's been listed off so far would be the main characters. Moving on, the other girls in the group, we have Georgie.
I mean, the fat trainee bitch.
Bitch.
That's not Tanner being just absolutely dry.
Yes, it is.
No,
Because
no,
she fucking. Never mind.
Levels,
dude.
boy,
Never,
levels.
Never mind.
Level.
Never mind.
No. But Georgie is stereotypically fat, and the director Tara Subkoff wants to make it abundantly clear she spends probably half of her screen time eating, and then the other half being mercilessly ridiculed for being overweight. Then we have Francesca, who doesn't seem to fit any of these categories really, but all of the girls keep calling her, gay, lesbo, dyke, whatever.
What? They called everybody lesbo dyke at some
I
point.
think
but
it was
she
mostly directed
It
at
was directed at
Francesca.
her. Yeah.
That
Like,
was
why?
her main,
Yeah.
her.
At some point, there was a feud early on. There was a few lesbians.
Yeah.
What are you gonna make out with me, you lesbian? Yeah.
And then last but not least, we have Ava, who is just she dumb.
She dumb as hell.
She dumb as hell.
Oh, don't even make me say the big one. The big joke.
Kind of girl.
No. All right, I mean that's really our cast of players, as as far as I see it. So let's just kind of start digging into it. Let's start breaking it out. So right away we hop into a scene which kind of sets all of the marital issues between Harry and Alex Cox up right away. Harry is basically driving out with his mistress, calls up Alex, obviously very pissed off at him. She knows what's going on. He knows what's going on. He drops off his mistress, and then we're treated to this nice little live stream overlay of someone walking up to Harry in the car and slashing his throat before going off for the mistress, which it doesn't make sense, right? Because
It's very confusing.
He drove off
Yes.
from the mistress, and then the mistress just happened to be right in front
Yes.
of the car.
Also, the
Well,
cuts.
she goes, I'm gonna go pack.
Yeah.
And then gets out of the car
And
in the
stands
middle
in
of
the
the
snow.
forest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And stands in the middle of the forest while it's snowing.
It's an extremely confusing part. Also, she's gonna go pack, and it's walking distance to the house.
yeah.
It's every cut in this movie was so hard to follow because none of it ever made sense.
No, yeah, just geographically there were a lot of
Big flaws.
inconsistencies.
Big flaws.
And this is the first time we're treated to one of Tara Subkoff's beautiful social media overlays in which an anthropomorphized hashtag slashes a knife at us, the audience, which I thought was quite rude. And then it gives us a little hashtag submit before panning to a late title screen and the intro credits. God,
It looked awful.
I can't stress this enough. Like, you as the viewer just subject to a barrage of really bad emojis.
Yeah.
Someone puked emojis all over the screen
You
after
could
this.
imagine like the SpongeBob cutscene text, 3 hours later, with that font and that colorful background.
Yeah.
But every half second was a new screen with different
Yeah.
text
It's just-
and different emojis and different fucking sounds.
Yeah.
It was
It's
just
like they wanted you to have a stroke. Like that was their end goal. Was like, how many people can we kill?
And that's a part of the art.
Just by the intro.
Yeah.
Let's weed away the weak ones just with the intro.
Yeah.
It's just a really good emoji movie.
That's a really good emoji.
Because the
movie. I think
emoji
that's
movie
fair.
itself, I was a little disappointed. Big fan of emoji movie, but that movie,
Just watch the intro.
just watch the intro of that, and you get the entire plot of the emoji movie inside of this little tiny part.
mixed with a little bit of meth.
A
then-
little bit.
After the open credits, we cut directly to Sam, who I said is a little bit off kilter. She's standing in front of a mirror, and I didn't realize this actually for far too long after having watched it 4 times this week. I didn't realize it. This is the same
It's a
scene that shows
flashback,
up.
or
It's the
not a
same
flash-
scene that shows up
Yeah.
later in Sophia's house, but
Yeah.
she's standing in front of a mirror and has flashbacks of apparently the murder that we just saw take place.
Yeah, it's supposed. I get the horror behind it, but it also doesn't make
Yeah.
any. Again,
And-
geographically, it just doesn't make sense.
And this was something that I went out of my way. I reached out to actress Sadie Seelert.
How's she
try-
doing?
I reached out to actress Sadie Seelert, who plays Sam in the movie, trying to get a little bit more insight into exactly what the audience was supposed to take away from the scene.
And
Oh, she didn't respond.
Quite a few messages later, he was blocked.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
Alex
he was
and
blocked
Al
off
has
the
a restraining order from Sadie
no.
Sealer.
No, she definitely did
Please
not
respond.
Please respond.
Please, for the love of God, I just need to know.
Oh, boy.
Honestly, at 12 years old, I don't think you can even percept the art in this movie. So even if you did reach out to her, she wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
She was a little
I don't
fucking
wait.
kid.
You've just implied that there's some underlying art that is to be gotten. And
Yes,
I'm
she
not-
was looking at dude.
I'm not actually disputing that because I think there's something very much happening below surface level that I'd like to believe that we can come to a conclusion here today during this recording. Next shot, Sam is driving to Sophia's house for a sleepover, which she was invited to by Kat with her mom. And her mom is very sort of reluctant to take her, I would say. She talks about how, Sam's still having nightmares and seeing weird things. There's obvious implications that Sam is experiencing some emotional or psychiatric distress. Sam is obviously very insecure about being the poor girl in this richer neighborhood. She makes her mom drop her off like a mile from the house, right?
Yeah, can't be seen. Can't be seen, and also have to get these.
And even that, her car door didn't work on the passenger side, so the mom, they thought it was so important to stress how poor
How
this
broke
was.
these poor people were.
The mom had to get out and let Sam out on her side.
That was funny. Just make her crawl through the back.
Yeah, that would have been good. Yeah, give me a good unedited scene of her crawling out the back of the car.
Bust out the window. So Sam walks into Sam walks into Sophia's house. Basically, this girl's talking shit on her, right? They're like, "Why is there this weird girl coming? She smells."
Yeah, she's
smells
probably a
the
lesbian
bread.
at some point. I don't really remember
Yeah,
the
they're
direct
really
words.
hooked
They're
on the
really,
whole
yeah.
lesbian.
At 12, you're really obsessed
Yeah.
with you're a lesbian.
But we are introduced to one of my favorite characters in this scene. We are introduced to Breathing Egg.
Breathing
Yeah.
egg.
The best character in the movie.
Breathing Egg. This house is beautifully decorated, well, quote unquote, beautifully decorated with a lot of contemporary art. But one of the pieces in general is what appears to be a picture of Marilyn Monroe covered by a hard-boiled egg.
Hard-oiled egg.
Hard-boiled
Nice
egg.
and ready.
Hard-oiled egg.
Yeah. Most of the shots, because there is an exception to this rule, most of the shots, the yolk in this egg is actually undulating. So it's actually breathing, which we can come back to this later, but it's really interesting to me. I watched with subtitles on,
So did I.
and it actually said heartbeats or something like that.
Yeah.
All right, so next we cut to Kat and her dad, Dr. White, talking. Dad is scolding her for engaging in cyberbullying and ditching school. All the meanwhile during this conversation, he's really laying down the line with her. But at the same time, he's very obviously distracted by his phone. Even going so far as to play what I would say is a very generic version of Farmville.
Yeah, gotta farm them tomatoes.
Yeah. And if you're wondering what this looks like visually, because I'm sure no one has seen this film.
No one's probably gonna watch
It
this
is-
in anticipation.
it's just imagine that the notification you would get on your phone that your Farmville, oh boy, crops are ready, that just pops over and takes up 50% of the goddamn screen.
Yeah. With emojis and pictographs and nice little animations.
Yeah, Kat does at one point mention, "Oh, you shouldn't get so stressed out." At which point, we see, much in the same way, Dr. White sending off a text to refill a Xanax prescription. Now,
I struggled with this part so much because of the fact that, I mean, and this is through the entire movie, no one in the movie keeps like a consistent persona. And at the beginning of this, he was
so awful.
Dude, it was awful because he was consoling her at one point, and he's like, like asking her if she's okay and what he can do. And then out of nowhere, my man Mr. White just starts fucking freaking out on Sam. And just starts ridiculing her and makes it a hit, which, I get it. It's displaying on, what his mental health is like, but it was so hard to follow because no one is like that.
what I was going to ask is, do you guys think that, I mean, it's probably pretty implicitly Dr. White's Xanax prescription, right? Did we all take away that he
Yes.
was texting about his Xanax prescription?
I took away that it was hers because
Okay.
right before they showed the text on screen, he asked her if she was still taking her medication.
Okay.
So I
could
took
see
that
it.
as then him saying, "Okay, well, you're
Yeah,
and
that
you
actually
better,
does
and you're
make
gonna."
sense.
I could really see it going either way.
Either way,
which
yeah.
is why I wanted to bring it up, because
Whether
there
it's
are
him dealing with
moments-
her or she's, what she needs to do with herself.
there is a scene that we'll get to in which it's pretty clear to me, at least, that Dr. White is having a full-blown panic attack.
Which I need his doctor because he just texted him and
Yeah.
was like, "Hey,
Dude, that's
60
service
pills
of
of
the month.
Xanax refill stat." Like,
Stat.
I need that kind of doctor.
I believe her name was Stacy too, which was probably the first name introduced. What should we name her? Stacy. Stacy.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna just skip over the scene with Alex Cox, where she hits on the home renovator, driving home the point that infidelity probably goes both ways with him, and then we get the egg in this scene again. and I'm gonna keep coming back to the egg because, oh my god, I love this egg. Notably, because there is a very clear shot where they're sitting down, and the picture is right behind Alex. No breathing throughout that entire scene. It was for me. It felt very prominent and very.
Which one is Alex again?
Alex is the mom.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me personally, it felt very prominent, very deliberate that they would put it in this scene. For reasons why I'll come back to later. Right after this is the first time we're introduced to this sort of fictional social media game.
Yeah.
Social media game. There's an overlay that will come up on the screen. What the purpose of it is, you have a score, you have likes, you have a top poster.
And there's also some sort of Candy Crush element involved. Because there was a moment when she took the same photo 3 times, or somebody else's same photo 3 times, the same tree. Took a nice tree photo when getting out of the car, heading into the house, and she got a nice little Candy Crush animation, and they all split up, and then they went up again, which I'm not sure if that... I don't know what the fuck this application means.
I want the game. I want to play.
Yeah, I'm interested in the social media platform.
I want to fucking play.
Yeah, I mean, I actually... So in an effort to try and get a little bit more insight onto the aesthetic choices that went on behind this, I hit up graphic designer for the film, Taber Roback. I hit him up and asked specifically what went into the choices to make this social media game site with a cumulative score like that. It seems sort of obviously you can pull it into just the basis. Everyone's just kind of racking up likes.
I'm locked into these phones.
So I hit up Taber Roback.
And he did respond.
Yeah, no.
He didn't respond.
I didn't get... I'm sorry. I didn't get a response.
Yeah, I kind of saw that coming.
Yeah, go figure.
Yeah.
I mean, who would...
He's busy. He's doing a lot of graphic... He got
yeah.
a couple deals from that
He's
one
got
for
so many
sure. He got the
I
emoji
think he won
movie.
an Oscar.
He got the fucking emoji movie.
So the cat scene, we cut back to Alex and her friend in the house talking. And this is the first time we hear the legend of good old Ray Jameson. And
This shit's so
Tanner,
fucking stupid.
I'm going to ask you to recount the legend of Ray Jameson for me, as far as you remember.
As far as I remember, Ray Jameson was a friend of Andy Warhol's, and he was having some party.
Shindig.
Yeah, some little get-together, some party.
Little rigmarole.
And I guess it got a little bit... Did it get weird? It got a little bit weird.
There was a medium at the party.
Okay.
That's what it was.
And there was a high level of discomfort involved.
Okay,
There was
so...
a medium at the prophecy.
It was the high level of discomfort. Was everyone just getting a little bit of roofies in their drinks and couldn't walk
Highly
straight,
possible.
I would say, given the era of the 60s, friend of Andy Warhol...
Drugs were involved.
Indubitably.
But there was
And
a
just
medium.
the egg in general.
There was a medium who gave a reading at the party talking about the four winds converging.
That's right.
Which
On
does
the
sound
property.
like a fart.
The four winds converging in a
Which I would like to
vortex.
touch on. Georgie does believe that sounds like a
Yeah,
fart.
yeah.
And she's not wrong.
Yes. I
Yeah.
think Georgie just farted.
Georgie
Tried to
did
blame
sound...
it
Yeah.
on the winds.
Oh, that
On the
sounds like a
winds
fart.
converging.
Now I smell
No,
a
that was
fart,
the winds
guys.
converging.
That's the winds converging.
But some kind of winds converge on this house, and they go the rest of the night with the party, and this guy ends up killing, what is it, like six
people?
Yeah,
Six
people that were at the party that night.
Which I do feel is important.
Very important. Some
I
foreshadowing.
wonder how many girls are
Yeah.
hanging out at the house that night.
I'll give you guys a hint.
Yeah, more than 5 and less than 7. But
Yeah.
I actually wasn't paying that close of attention at this point, so that's like the gist of what I got from
That's
that
exactly
I-
what it was.
I think you hit it on
lost.
the mark,
Yeah, he
yeah.
lost his shit, killed 6 people, and
story.
while this
and
was happening,
and he like disappeared, and he's still
No one found his
considered a
body.
missing person.
yeah.
yeah.
And while this was happening, Kat was listening.
Yeah.
Which plays a huge role, and Kat
Yeah.
walks into the old party room of all the girls that have gathered and decides to share this with them.
Wherein Georgie says, That sounds like a fart.
4 wins? That sounds like a 4.
wins.
Yeah, Larry the Cable Guy voices over Georgie.
Bro.
Georgie's got top billing on this. Reach out to George. No.
Ignore the alphabetical order thing. She does have top
Yeah.
billing.
So, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I went through here scene by scene for a while. It's just girls being really sort of catty to each other, and we can see Kat in particular. She's just the type of friend who will take something way too far. Like, if you say, not to foreshadow, but if you said, I absolutely hate my parents, Tanner, and Tanner was this sort of person, he would chop my parents up and serve them to me as a nice beef Wellington.
Yes. I'd like to touch on something.
Parents.
I'd like to touch on something we kind of missed here.
Touch it.
One of the things that old mom said when she was being told the story, another very hard to read part, at the beginning she's terrified and uncomfortable, and by the end of it, her friend tells her, well, haven't you always wanted to do that at a party? Just murder all your party guests? She says that. She says, haven't you always wanted to kill everyone in the party? And
Only when they won't go home or something.
exactly,
like that.
and I love that because that just touches that no one in this film is a sane human being.
Oh yeah.
Every time you're in a party, you just want to kill them.
Yeah, that's my first thought.
Yeah,
Whenever
I
I
mean,
go
legitimately though.
to
Come
any
on.
kind of Walmarts, any kind of schools,
Most schools.
Yeah.
any kind of
I think we should,
concerts,
given the current political climate, boys,
I just think of
I'm gonna have to bleep out all these places. Oh,
I just think I can kill everyone here.
Yeah.
Tanner's gonna be on
Mosques.
the run.
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot to add to this list.
Church, mosque, synagogue.
Oh my gosh, boys. So, like I said, girls just being catty. Like, there are a couple of scenes, girls trying on like stereotypical teenage girl stuff.
Ava.
It's just like
Hashtag Sophia.
princess.
yeah, like
Hashtag-
hyperbolic, like preteen, teenage,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
obsessed with like self-image and
Yeah.
like celebrity status. Like it's just weird.
I love the hashtags because one of them did say hashtag so fierce, and all of them, they all did have their own sequence, which was, in my opinion, probably the introductory to all of these
Yeah.
people, which was hashtag Ava, hashtag Sophia, and went down the list. And I would like to let everybody know this does have a closing hashtag.
Hashtag fat
Yeah.
tranny bitch.
Yeah.
Hashtag.
So-
close out. They are parentheses in
And-
this sense. They do close out.
And maybe
so
like
funny.
I don't want to dwell on. Well, I kind of do want to dwell on the visual aspects. I want to make it very clear that every 0.5 seconds in these scenes, it would stop, give you a social media overlay, like the abhorrent ones we've already talked about, and give us some sort of hashtag. So fierce hashtag, and then it would continue with that for like 5 minutes at a time. Like these were some true montages.
I do want to touch on this part the most because this part captured me for a good moment because the most, like, this really did set the tone to what the girls were going to be like the rest of the movie because there was some shit being said the entire time. Like Georgie, poor Georgie, poor Georgie,
yeah,
dude.
I mean,
Georgie just got shitted on this whole film, and she is a dumb fat bitch. Don't get me wrong.
She all sympathy, I guess we'll get to it, but all sympathy that I had that they instilled in me for her at this point, they definitely took it out of me by the end of the
Yes.
movie. But at this point,
For sure.
I was like, poor fucking girl.
Honestly, at the end of the movie, I lost sympathy for almost everyone.
I was like, she's
But-
fat,
well-
but she's not that fat.
Yeah, she's just a tubby girl
I mean,
like everyone
honestly,
else. I was
all of
tub
these
tub.
efforts would have been much better directed, I feel, at Ava, who gave us so many reasons to
God,
hate
Ava,
her.
that dumb bitch.
And she got some shit.
Was Ava the dumb one, right?
Ava
Yes,
was
yes,
the
yes.
dumb one.
See,
Ava,
that's the one that
Ava
I
was
remember the
Depeche
least.
Mode.
What's sad
Yeah,
too?
she was
It's
the
sad
best.
too because Georgie got called a dumb fat little sausage
Oh, yeah.
when she put on a very nice dress. She
very
had a
becoming
great dress
dress.
on.
She
Yeah.
got called a fat tranny
Oh,
bitch.
I think it was a fat little sausage from the Sanford Mall.
Yes, from the Sanford Mall specifically, which was a good note. out.
Yeah.
But also, I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Because I want to dig into that a
Yeah.
little bit more. I hope you looked up that mall. Because that mall must be shitty.
You know, I really wanted to figure out what this was all about, so I reached out to the Stanford Mall.
I reached out to Stammer Mall. Why do your sausages suck so bad?
Sausage is so bad. All right, but like going along the same lines, we're talking about Georgie being ganged up on. There's a very plot critical scene, I would say, where she is just getting absolutely berated by Kat, and she, you know, says lines like, "Oh, you're a plastic surgeon's wet dream." She starts actually like physically prodding her, saying, "Look at all the fat," and then she finally drops the line, "You should just kill yourself."
Yeah.
Which is where the rest of the girls believe is taken a bit too far.
Which is hilarious because the rest of it would make her want to kill herself, and they were all into it.
Yeah.
But the second they said kill yourself, like, whoa. We don't actually want her to. We'll just influence her to.
This is one thing that I noticed with that scene with Kat was it seemed like she couldn't stop herself from making fun of Georgie. She like wouldn't stop, like no matter what like outside pressure the other girls were putting on her. She just kept going and kept going. And I think that kind of plays into the future events of the movie too.
definitely egomaniacal in the fact
Yeah.
that she's just addicted to
Attention.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that's made, you know, abundantly clear. All right, so Georgie's getting prodded, berated. Finally, Kat says, "Kill yourself. Kill yourself, Malige." Voiced by Monty Python, both of them. And then is finally kicked out of the house by Sophia. And when this starts happening, Kat becomes, you know, extremely remorseful, at least puts on a veneer of remorse, I would say. But Sophia kind of just persists, kicks her out of the house.
Sophia says, "If I accept your apology right away every time, then you'll keep doing it."
Yeah,
so
which-
she says that it's like she's making a point to kick her out of the
I
house
thought
this
was
time.
here's the thing. So
This is
later,
extremely astute for them.
later it becomes apparent that her mom, Alex, Sophia's mom, Alex, is going to AA meetings, and stuff like that is pushed like none other. Like, don't enable people with those behaviors and stuff like that. So I almost thought like it was pretty on the nose, but I could see that being something she would have overheard from her mom at some point. So I'll forgive that line, but like offhand, it's just like why would she say
Yeah,
that?
I was like, that was a way too mature thing
Yeah.
for a 12-year-old to
Yeah,
come out and say in the heat of
exactly.
the moment like that.
So Kat just kind of takes off into the woods. She's screaming, she's crying, she's
Queefing. She's
fucking queefing.
queefing all over the place. She's trying to call her dad.
These
To
girls are
no
12.
avail.
a damn vagina cry. She's a real quick
I'm
vagina
gonna
cry.
shut this podcast down. Nail in the fucking coffin, boys. No good. No good.
This is illegal.
But she tries to call her dad to no avail. We cut back to the rest of the girls all hanging out. They see that Kat posted a picture of Georgie that we have alluded to earlier, where she photoshopped her to look like a pig and captioned it, #fat tranny bitch.
Fat tranny bitch. Yeah. And
It's so fucked
which,
up.
wow, that was a quick fucking Photoshop.
Yeah.
Again, the timestamps in this movie just don't make
Oh my
sense.
God.
Because she did a good one. She did a good
I'm gonna
Photoshop.
be honest, boys. There are like full sequences where the girls would have had to change outfits
Yeah.
in 1 minute flat.
Yes.
When they go
Yes.
into the pool, I
Oh
was
my
like,
god.
so they just have every one of these girls' size bathing suits
Done.
just
Everybody.
on deck.
Even Georgie. That dumb fat tranny bitch.
We're getting
They have
ahead of
hers.
ourselves, boys. We're getting ahead of ourselves, boys.
Oh, Georgie.
So-
Fucking Georgie. Poor Georgie.
Actually, I guess we're not that off track here, because that's basically the next scene where they all decide to go to the pool. But first, there's a big pact that all the girls take after this posting happens. They see it directly after the fat tranny bitch comment comes up. They're like, well, let's just lock our phones up, and then we won't have to deal with it for the rest of the night.
They're like, we'll actually have to talk to each other. One of
Yeah.
them said that. We'll actually have to talk and hang
Yeah.
out.
I like that also they continue to shit on Georgie in this moment. Poor Georgie. I advocate for poor Georgie.
They dig into her.
For once, I actually fucking agree with you. You dumb fat bitch.
They're just sitting there, fucking. They're really going off on her. Even as she's sitting there crying, they're just like, "You have to stop eating. It's not
Oh my
making
god!
you happier."
When she's hugged, oh my god! When she's hugged, this was the biggest part for me. She's hugged and they go, "Just stop eating." She whispers, "Just stop eating.
You don't have to eat.
You don't have to eat."
And
She's like, "I do."
No,
have to
the
eat."
quote, and I did pull it. She said it was so sad. She said, "It's the only thing that makes me feel better."
Which, okay, on a real note, this is something that
feel
people
that.
struggle with. This
Yeah.
is something people struggle with,
feel that.
and that's why she's like that. And exactly, I fucking have felt that.
love
Sometimes,
food.
yeah, when I'm real sad at night,
Oh,
a
yeah.
good T-bell hits the spot.
$20 T-Bell boys.
Oh baby,
Oh,
I'll take
come
that
on.
trip any time of day.
But
You know what,
Sophia,
Georgie? I'm on your side now.
Yeah, I
You've
fucked with
redeemed
it.
yourself.
Yeah.
It does change. Wait till the end of the podcast, but it does change.
Sophia,
You dumb bitch, you
Georgie. Trainy bitch.
You dumb Georgie.
Sophia takes the key to the safe that they've locked their phones up in, and she pantomimes like she's throwing it outside, which I thought was actually really slick. Like there's no character motivation at all for her to have done this,
No,
No.
none at all.
except for the plot needing for the other girls not to know where the key is.
Yes.
So she pantomimes, she throws it outside,
And someone questions, "Do you know where you threw that?"
and she says,
I don't.
I know.
I don't.
"My name is Jeff." Before turning around and
throws
slyly
it where?
tossing it into the pool.
Oh, and who acknowledged this?
But Sam.
But Sam.
So next, the girls they start drinking,
Oh yeah.
and this scene is
Vodka
Oh, baby.
Alex has got some words I can tell.
Oh, baby, dude. First of all, the shot pouring in this fucking scene was the best thing. We've all seen the, and 2 shots of vodka. Look. It wasn't even close to that. It was the opposite end of that, where they all held their glasses together and like, yeah, bitches, let's drink. And it was literally just a little quick splash. And she was a fucking pro. She's basically
yeah.
Just rinse the glass with vodka.
Exactly.
And then
It was-
poured a
yeah.
bunch of chaser in.
Yeah, you rinse your cup out, and there's just like a little bit of water still left after you pour it all out. That's what was left
That's
inside
what-
of it.
Yeah.
It was fucking amazing.
But
That-
Dr. White can smell it on him, so
oh, he knew.
Well, Sophia was drinking straight vodka.
nice.
Yeah,
Sophia was drinking straight vodka, and she
Sophia's
seemed the less.
probably an alcoholic.
She probably-
Sophia's an alcoholic, and Sophia's also the most mature in this movie, with the exception of Sam.
Yeah,
Because
I would
in
say
this movie, she tries to be the adult that knows everything, because she very much wants to be her mother
Yeah, I think
the entire
Sophia
movie.
is like street-wise.
Yeah,
Well, it just
exactly.
feels
Sam's
like-
like emotionally mature.
Sophia, it does kind of feel like she's had to have raised herself
Yeah.
with how much dysfunction goes on with her parents. Which
For sure. Well, she has like a maid or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like,
she feels very. She actually comes off as very reserved once all the girls start drinking and stuff like that. And she, like, the girls are dancing. They look like big old dummies.
it doesn't look good. It looks like the
Think-
inflatable
think-
machines.
Yeah,
at the
dude, I
car
was thinking
dealerships.
3 tabs of acid at Coachella back.
Yeah.
Like, real. And
Some
Sophia's
ketamine.
Sophia's the only one to have the decency to try and stop these girls from killing themselves. Like, she's literally
She
sitting
goes,
there.
"Oh, honey."
Oh, honey. Oh,
Okay, she's trying to stop it, but I'd like to touch on the
Please
fact
stop.
that the entire time I did watch it with subtitles. Again, if you guys both watch it with subtitles, what is Sam singing the entire time? She's teaching him how to dance. Show me, show me, show me. Which I want to know that song because that's just a hit. Show me,
It's a banger.
show me. And every time someone danced, they did say
is
show
She
me.
goes like something like, "Back it up, back it
Yeah,
up."
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Kept saying some shit like
Yeah,
that.
it did seem like a club banger, right,
Yeah,
boys?
yeah.
Huh. I guess I should move on then. I guess
Well,
that's it.
no, there's more to touch on here because right after this,
Yeah.
and God, I hope I'm not wrong on this, there's a very uncomfortable part about what they're going to do next. And they're sitting in front of this, whatever that, I don't remember what it was, like a projector.
Yeah.
So this is right after, if I'm
Yeah.
not wrong.
Yeah. You're correct.
And there's probably one of the more uncomfortable parts, and actually probably the best acting that comes out of any of these girls the whole fucking movie.
Yeah.
And it's the serious tone part.
Yeah.
And they do have a rather long conversation about period talk at 12 years old, which I don't know if anyone knows here when this is the perfect time, because between 10 and 12, I googled that because I didn't remember. That is when the period time is.
I wanted to know if this was biologically
What?
accurate or
I
not.
googled it.
Yes.
I googled it because I haven't gotten my period.
I'm fucking sitting
I've
here in
been
the 20s waiting where my period
I've
is.
been waiting for so long. I'm just still waiting. But something interesting to note in this film is actually the soundtrack, because there is a version in this scene in which Claire de Lune plays. Claire de Lune, you would have heard it before. Da, 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 da,
Oh.
da, 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 da.
Yep.
But
That's fair
it
use,
plays
right?
there.
That's fair use. Does that count as fair use? Might get a big
under-
one
under
for that
30
one. Under 30. All right, cut it. That's 30 seconds. No more.
Yeah. But that plays in another scene, and I want you guys to just guess. Plays in another scene that happened earlier in the film. I want you guys to guess which other scene it happens.
Wait, what was the scene that it just played in?
It's the dancing scene.
No, after
no.
that, when they're all serious.
When they're
Is
talking
it
about the
playing
period?
there?
It's played in the background of that scene.
Oh, I don't know, because I didn't
Yeah, I
even
don't know.
notice they were.
For only like the first 30 seconds.
I was
and then
sitting
it
in the
cuts
little
out.
girl period awkwardness, and I was too busy on that.
You want to rephrase that?
I was stuck.
I
In,
could-
I
I
was
have this
stuck in a
audacity.
12-year-old period.
Does
that help you?
I can send this
Sitting in the little
I'll
girl
put you-
period awkwardness.
I'll put you on a list. But if you had to guess which other scene that song was playing in,
I don't know. I can't.
Alex?
I'm gonna guess
I do not
when
recall.
she's standing in front of the egg, just to bring that back.
No.
No.
It was playing in the scene, in the original scene, when Kat is sitting across from her dad. Which leads me to believe there's a lot of talk when they're sitting down in this serious moment about how sort of
They couldn't afford more music for the movie, so they recycled it.
which is probably a more likely theory than
Okay,
that.
okay.
But for me, I connected that to, in the scene when they're sitting down all serious, like a lot of the talk tends to revolve around how distant their parents are. So it seems to sort of relate back to some...
Yeah, foreshadowing of the same
Sort of
ominous.
Yeah,
feeling.
'cause she was
Dissonance.
saying about
Yeah.
how her mom got mad at her that she was
Yeah.
too young to get her period.
Yeah. Stop eating chicken.
Yeah.
Mom, I've been
Mom,
vegan
I'm
for
vegan.
years.
I'm vegan.
I told you.
Derek
Mom,
gives you
I'm
halitosis.
This season, this movie is an absolute garbage fire, and I love
But
it.
it's quote city, baby.
Oh, it is so quotable.
There's antibiotics in the chicken.
Now, right after this scene, we go into the swimming scene. This is the one, and we are actually getting in fiction timestamps every now and then from these stream overlays that
Do
appear.
they go sequentially then?
So here's the thing. I also reached out to Tabor Roback asking about that.
Again, how was he?
He's
busy.
He's busy. He's a very busy man with his 500 followers. So, I don't know if there's some... I guess the whole in-fiction continuity thing is kind of up in the air, because these girls go from literally sitting around drinking to sleeping in a matter of 2 minutes, I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
Through the serious scene, too, I'm pretty sure.
I want to touch on the serious scene real quick.
Okay, we can take
Because
it back.
during the series, we'll rewind it real quick. Because we keep charging through these good ones, these good boys that are just sitting in these great
feel
scenes.
free to stop me if you guys have...
I'd like to point out Sam does fuck. Sam does fuck, and Sam is not touched on fucking. Again, not a great quote. Don't send that one in. But
Don't
Sam-
send that one in.
Sam does fuck,
Yeah.
and never again is it talked about other than
When they call her a liar.
when they call her a liar. And I find that so interesting that most of Sam's lies, end quote,
Yeah.
are not even touched on ever again because
Yeah.
everyone assumes she's lying, but is she? And there's an underlying theme right there.
Well, I mean, it seems really implicit to me that Sam has had some sort of big event happen,
That it was definitely a traumatizing something.
and I don't,
we can't
I
assume what that is.
I
but-
don't
think
like
she
to
got
go there.
raped. That's her virginity. It's gone.
Where's the delete button on this thing?
Fucking my levels are all screwed. Alex just spitting into his microphone at this point.
fucking can only go so far.
But I would say that
Just YouTube poop.
I would say, Tanner, that's the conclusion I came to. Given some of the imagery, I haven't talked enough about Egg, so I'm gonna go back to Egg. Egg, if you think about it, is a very feminine picture in nature, right? It's Marilyn Monroe.
I disagree.
topped with an egg, an
I
actual
disagree.
egg.
I disagree. I think it holds a lot of power.
I think it's non-gender binary.
Yeah, you fucking piece of shit. You call us the assholes. How many
gender
things are you gonna
fluid.
cut in this? How many things? Because I can tell you right
It's
now, I don't
literally-
think it identifies as anything. It's an egg. It's an egg. Why are you gonna call it feminine? That's fucked up.
This is literally.
You don't even know yet. It's a cooked egg. It's a fucking cooked egg.
This is literally just going to be chopped up into an Alex Hickson evidence file that I can send to the police by the end of this. But I would say that most analyses would probably lend themselves to thinking that it's, whether it's right or wrong, whether it's black or white, whether it's egg or chicken,
Okay.
I think most analyses would lend to the fact that it is feminine imagery. And moving on to the pool scene, which is a beautiful sequence where they're all pantomiming synchronized swimming and doing all the motions together. Sam is sitting outside the pool, and what does she hallucinate other than blood going into the pool?
Yeah.
Which I would say is another spot on. Well, nothing in this film is spot on, but
Right.
I would say it falls in line with the thought that Sam has had some major trauma and major sexual trauma in the past year. I think the bullying she alludes to at her old school may have been, an Uncle Thomas.
Yeah.
You guys,
Yeah.
I looked into both their eyes searching, and I could see them going back to the memory banks trying to remember the character. That there is no Uncle Thomas. That was
Yeah.
but this is where basically swimming at the pool. Do you have something?
I do. It said they have the same swimsuits.
Yeah.
Mom definitely works for a swimsuit company, and she had all those ready for them for the big sleeping party.
For the big sleeping.
Big sleeping party.
Big sleeping party. Yeah, they're all in the same outfit too. Everyone's in the pool except Sam. Sophia notices the cuts on Sam's wrist and brings them to attention. And Sophia actually seems very empathetic in this moment. Something that there was a short sequence earlier in the film that we kind of just skipped over. But Sophia is actually in the bathroom at one point getting ready to cut herself. And at which point she is interrupted by Georgie, who needs to, quote unquote, release the beast. She said she needs to release the beast.
I actually was gonna ask that earlier if we touched on that bathroom scene where Georgie
It was really short. The first time I
clearly
watched it.
throws up into the toilet.
Yeah, the first time I watched it this week, I didn't even catch it. The second time around, I was like, how did I miss this scene?
Yeah, but I missed the part where she was about to cut herself. I
Yeah.
just remember the part
Yeah,
of Georgie.
She's
I
sitting
totally
there.
missed that. I completely surpassed by Release the Beast.
Yeah, she's sitting there ready to cut herself. She gets interrupted by Georgie, who says, "I need to release the, I need to release the beast." But As Sophia's walking out of the bathroom after this, she's like, "Oh, what are you gonna go throw up?" And Georgie plays it off. She's like, "No, I just don't want to hear you guys to hear me pooping." And then she goes in, turns on the faucet.
you guys to hear me pooping.
Yeah. That was her explanation of why she needed to turn on the faucet, and immediately faucet turned on and just
Yeah.
it was retching, immediate retching. It was.
Clearly doesn't work because Georgie, sweetie, you're still fat.
Oh, do you have something? Would you like to
We're
share?
going to prison. We're going to prison for this whole thing.
I'm surprised we're not already canceled. Actually,
Yeah, we haven't even debuted in a big cancel sign.
we're already getting canceled. Do we
there's-
need to talk about the doses and mimosas scene, the dancing scene with the masks?
Yes, because
Scene was
that
weird.
it was fucking. There's a lot of things in this movie that were more horrifying than the movie itself.
Yeah.
And they were definitely artistic in a way.
Yeah.
That part, I was fucking brutally creeped out.
Yeah, just for a little bit more of a visual. Essentially, what these girls were wearing are masks that take on the shape of people's faces. So they're wearing these face masks and dancing around, which to me, I was like, okay, it's a really on the nose allegory for how we all tailor our social media selves to. No, Alex?
I just think it was a big weird one. I
Yeah,
think they were big.
well, it's you have to remember what sort of culture Tara Subkoff comes from.
But I don't read the movie as something that was really this planned out. Like that, these parts really just seemed like a bunch of random ideas thrown into a
I
movie.
don't know if she had the
foresight.
the intellect to sprinkle in all these
Honestly,
sub.
I think you have a great way of thinking of this movie, but you're smarter than the director
Here's
itself.
the thing. Well, going back, and this is totally tangential, I was kind of pissed off because I thought there were a lot of larger points that could have been drawn from more of the characters in this film. But if you go to any of the interviews with Tara Subkoff about the film, her only response are, "What's the movie about?" "It's about cyberbullying. My daughter was bullied and I wanted to make a movie."
Cyberbullying doesn't exist.
Just turn off the
Just turn
computer.
the computer off.
So they're dancing, and doorbell goes off.
Oh, and who's that?
That's Timothy fucking Hutton, Dr. White himself. Oh! This is the actual climax of the film.
This is where shit.
This is when I climax.
Yeah,
so.
this is.
Notice we have not. I mean, there has been one murder, but we are about an hour into the film at this point, and there
Yeah.
hasn't been a secondary murder.
I was thinking this too.
Fucking hell, Dr. White comes in and
Murders everyone.
Blaze of glory.
Spits
No,
some
no, no,
fucking
no.
hate on those shits.
No. Dr. White comes in and immediately he is yelling. He is screaming and like I might even go back and drop some sound clips.
Yeah,
in
I was
for
about to
people
say that.
because it's too good. The actually in the intro part of that is this whole tirade that he's going off on.
Yeah.
Um,
It's definitely directing towards, his mental health, obviously, again.
Yeah.
How it goes from immediately he walks in, angered, barges through the door, doesn't give a fuck about any rules. All of the girls are immediately scared. They all run to the fucking door like they own the place, which was annoying to me.
Yeah.
And, he immediately changes his mind up and down throughout this entire scene, trying to convince them to, lead him, which was, where is my daughter?
lead him to Cat.
Lead him to Cat.
I cannot stress how physical Dr. White is in this scene. He is literally grabbing
Yes.
these 12-year-old girls by the napes of their necks and
Playing that
absolutely
voicemail.
screaming.
Playing that voicemail. Listen to this. Listen to this, you little dumb fucking girls.
Yeah.
You dumb girls.
Just lays in.
And he's just kind of going wherever he wants in
Yeah.
the house too. He's just
Yeah.
walking around like he
It's
owns the place.
like he knows the place, which he
He
does.
does.
we find
does
out
know
that
the
he
place.
knows
Yeah.
the ins and the outs.
We find out shortly that him and Alex have engaged in extramarital affairs.
They fuck.
They bone.
Similar to Sam.
They bone down.
Well, they don't
Four
fuck
winds
Sam.
converge.
They don't fuck Sam.
It's getting cut. Don't worry.
It's getting cut.
No, don't worry, it's getting cut. But, so I was actually really curious about a lot that happened in the scene. I wanted to see how much of it was improvised, how much of it was scripted. So I reached out to Timothy Hutton.
Okay. And how was he?
Oh no, He was
He blocked
he
it.
was busy.
And how many followers did he have?
2,500.
Still not very
Wow.
good.
That's what an Oscar gets you.
Yeah, not very good. He got his Oscar like back in the 80s or something, boys.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a while back. But yeah, if I could say anything, it's that this scene alone is what makes the movie for me. It makes the third act for me hard to watch, just because this scene is so, it's surreal almost. Just watching this grown man
Take over.
confront and actually get physical with
Yeah.
these children. Like, I remember
Put him in their place.
he implies that the girls were bullying Kat.
Yeah.
The girls are like, no, she bullied us. Georgie's like, this was a good one. Georgie's like, she told me I should kill myself. And he's walking
He
by.
responds.
He's walking by. He's like, yeah, that's good advice.
Maybe it's a good advice.
As gruff as ever.
I laughed out loud at that scene. After such an intense, just triad, just non-stop, just over the top, at the top of his lungs, screaming, jumping from point to point to point, and then she told me to kill myself.
Yeah. And
It's good advice. You should listen to it.
And he does tell them while he's beating these children, he does say, "Why didn't anyone call me?" And just right back to how good this movie is,
It's like
and how they
your
thought
daughter.
of everything. Well, she did, and that's why you showed him the fucking voicemail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so immediately after this, Sophia decides that she is gonna take charge, and she's gonna tell Mr. White that you can't fucking talk to me this way.
Yeah.
Like, my mom's hot shit, and
You
little
fucked
side
up,
note,
you fucked up her boob job,
you
Dr.
fucked
White.
up her tits.
You fucked up my mom.
My mom
milk
tits.
bag.
And she's not
What am I
fucking
supposed
happy
to
about it.
suck on now, Dr. White?
This is a fucking wild scene of, Sophia and him going back and forth, which is again saying how Sophia is technically street smart. That's why she's able to talk to him this way, but also has been, given life on a silver platter. Immediately after this,
Go for it.
Mr. White does say,
Doctor, please respect.
oh fuck,
Please
I'm
put
sorry.
respect on his name.
Sorry, Mr. President.
Mr. Daddy.
Big Papa White does say,
Hey, Daddy White.
and warn them that he is going to look for Kat, and if anything happens to her, they will be charged as adults.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one. I don't know if the 12-year-olds are charged as adults for that one. For the big bully. The big bully, they're not charged for
I
adults.
don't know, man. But immediately following this, both Sam and Ava run off. Ava runs off. Sam runs off to try and go find Kat. So Sam goes into the woods, and she finds not Kat, but she finds Sophia's dad, Harry. She finds his
Harry
car.
Cox.
Harry Cox. She finds Harry Cox in his red Ferrari out in the woods. And immediately, R.I.P.
R.I.P. Harry Cox.
Tanner's dad. R.I.P. Harry.
And immediately runs back to the house. And God, there is a line that is just so... It's so bad. It's so bad, is what it is. She just storms in. She's obviously upset after having seen a bloodied car. And she says, "Oh my God, I just ran into a car. It's all bloodied. It's a red Ferrari." She is either A, very knowledgeable about cars,
Right.
as a 12-year-old.
12-year-old girl knows.
Which
Or
this isn't like a
B,
generic
it's
Ferrari.
an older Ferrari.
Yeah, it's an older
Yeah.
Ferrari. It would take a little bit of knowledge.
Or B, Sophia needed to hear red Ferrari to connect it to her dad.
Yeah.
Yes.
It just was
And
plugged out, needed to be
Sophia once again did respond, "You dumb little bitch." I don't know if she actually said that, but it was probably implied that she is
Dumb,
once again,
stupid,
"You stupid bitch."
dumb, white guilt.
Guilt. Don't give me your white guilt, you bitch. My dad drives a red Ferrari, and you knew that. Which there's no way for her to know that her dad drove a fucking red Ferrari, but Sophia is convinced.
Yeah. We missed something. When Alex leaves the house, she leaves all the kids alone, which is what a great mom would be. We find out that she was A, going to an AA meeting, and B, She had a fucking road soda in her hand.
Yes.
She had a GOT as she was getting behind her car to go to an AA meeting.
Well, and then like their family is so rich, and she drove like a shitty old Jaguar,
Yeah.
like
But
sedan.
again, this is another one of those things where everything in this movie was like a weird vintage pole. But then also a modern pole. Like everything went back and forth the entire movie and they couldn't keep a theme.
Yeah.
Which was totally the style. Even like the moments where it does pan to her at her AA meeting where it does take place, it's all very like fashionable and vintage.
Yeah, definitely. Not much comes out of that scene.
When does the Hitler part come in?
It comes in later.
Does
that
it-
that
is it
does
later?
come in later. Yeah. It's
Okay,
both
good,
when
good,
Sophia and Sam are both out of the house.
Georgie. Yeah, Georgie's. You fucked Hitler.
Alright, we gotta get
All right.
into that.
So next, right after this Alex and Dr. White scene is the repeat of Sam's flashback scene that we saw right after the initial murders. So, you know, it's same wardrobe, same everything like that, which raises a, you know, menagerie of implications. Me personally, at this point in the film, at least on my last watch, I'd come to the conclusion that Sam was definitely some sort of psychic medium.
I had a different view the first time I watched it. The first and only time I watched it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course, because I couldn't put
I-
too much
I-
time into
I-
this. I actually came up with it. I put in my notes, Sam is a sadistic murderer in all caps, because I was really leaning on that maybe this little girl is a lot crazier than we're leading on to be.
Sam was weird.
Sam was super weird, and another thing I put in here was Kat and Sam. Because at this point I was starting to tie a lot of their insanity together, and the only thing that tied them as a piece was that she invited her to the party originally. No one else wanted her there.
Yeah.
I didn't get that she was psychic or anything, or like a medium of any sort.
Let's carry on. Let's get through the content at hand.
And then we'll discuss.
And then we'll discuss theories, because I don't want to get too far into it without having covered all our bases, boys. We need to cover the bases. No one's seen this movie. We're gonna be canceled. We gotta watch fucking Finding Dory next week.
review it and somehow fuck that up too.
Review it.
They raped the fishes.
That might almost be more enjoyable. I'm gonna say having chosen a film that no one ever has heard of and no one ever will hear of, not good on a first week.
Moving on, what happens in the next part? This is the good man. This is the good man part.
All right, so the repeat of Sam's flashback. No, I did note this again. The egg is breathing again.
Yeah.
Which-
It does. I don't like breathing. I like pulsating.
The egg is pulsating, which
Throbbing.
for me,
Throbbing.
I think this is the last time we get a clear look at the egg, and it's done at 4. So we have 4
We get
shots
many
of egg.
good clear shots
We have
of the
4
egg.
good shots of egg. It pulsates in 3 of them. The only time it doesn't pulsate is when it's
Throbs.
around. Is when the only time it doesn't throb. Stop! Don't fucking get that close to the mic. The only time it doesn't pulsate is when it's in the scene with Alex, which tells me A, it's either tied to youth, it's either tied to childhood innocence, or it's tied to, I don't know, maybe a converging of the 4 winds and maybe personnel that have to do with that prophecy being fulfilled. Don't want to get into it too much.
Another thing that happens with those paintings that I don't know if we really tapped on, but there is, and I don't know if this is totally for transitional purposes, but there's 2 different scenes where the eyes on paintings look away.
yeah.
They look away. Where I don't know if that's actually the implication that there are spirits involved in this movie, or if it is a transitional thing.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that too, because it didn't seem to like tie into anything.
See, the
Right.
more I watched the film, the more supernatural things started to be, at least in my head.
Yeah, if I'm not sure if it was like exactly the egg in the eyes and all that, if they were meant to just set a tone, or if it was legitimate and it was meant to be something that was taken seriously.
I would like to think that the whole thing's supposed to be taken seriously. And no stone left unturned, man. Let's explore those avenues, but we still got fucking
So much.
so
Please,
so
just
much.
fucking
No,
carry on.
okay. So egg breathing again. Sam, Francesca, and Georgie are hanging out in the living room. Francesca actually brings up the legend again. And this time she poses, like, what if it's true? What if something weird's actually going on? Which I thought
Some
the
spooky
repetition
ghosts.
could have meant something. But Georgie is in the background, and by this point she is absolutely going to town on some cupcakes, man.
This shit was fucking hilarious.
I want to say she said that they killed out 5 cupcakes. Did we count the cupcakes?
No.
How many cupcakes did we count?
Dude,
More than 5.
I went through a 3-hour watch of this film, pausing every 5 seconds. Counting the cupcakes, something I must have overlooked. Cut back to Dr. White, and he's yelling in the woods, and he's looking for Kat. He starts yelling very erratically into a voicemail, presumably for her. Well, for her, yeah. And he starts screaming both to the girls at the house and just, I think, to himself for cathartic purposes. He starts screaming about how we're going to build a trap. We're going to build a trap.
We're gonna build a trap!
Gonna catch you like the fucking animal yard.
You little fucking you little bitch! You little fucking bitch!
Calling for her like she's an actual cat.
God, it was absolutely another wonderful scene. And I think the last...
during this scene, I would like to touch that he is knocking down trees.
Yeah.
Where? Wow.
Yeah. I didn't note that.
Strong man, big break tree. Big man, break tree.
He just stumbles through it too. Don't act like
no.
It
wasn't
like he
no,
fucking
no.
stanced up.
Yeah, he like
and gave
tripped
a
over it
full forward
basically.
foot.
I'm gonna make a trap. Just a little done.
I wonder if, because this very well could have been filmed after the fact that they shot this movie and realized, holy shit, this is garbage. I wonder if they just decided to add in one more Dr. White scene to give the people what they want.
Yeah.
Because this very much, for me, was the last good scene in the movie. Nothing else.
And everything after this is very, very, very quick. It happens fucking fast.
We should say that this scene's probably an hour 10 in.
The last
Of
pace.
an hour and 30.
Yeah, and we still haven't gotten to a second murder yet.
And it's the only pace thing in the entire movie.
Yeah.
Right after this, they start really getting to town on these big boy murders.
Yeah, and I think by this point I was so overtaking notes that it's just sequentially all the murders, really.
Yeah.
But there is one scene. Okay, so Sophia actually had also left into the woods to try and find Kat, and she stumbles upon the red Ferrari. She stumbles upon her dad's dead body.
And a gun.
Yeah, there was a gun in the glove box, which it seems she knew about. She definitely knew about it, but she also stumbles upon a medical glove in the passenger side. Let's be clear, from this intro scene with the original killing, the killer never even gets close to entering in the car more than he has to slit Harry's throat.
Correct. But he did throw a glove in there. just a real quick
Just gotta get the
deterrent.
evenance in
Just
there.
a real quick glove.
Yeah. Just gotta get the evidence.
Or maybe that night went a little freaky and he said, I can take it a little further if you want. What other than
What
a
other
real
than?
quick, man, I wish I had a sound machine. Right there, fucking 2 fingers in the butt crack.
Boy. After I'm doing the Miracle Gods edit to get half an hour out of this, I'll make sure to add that in.
The Miracle Gods.
Miracle fucking Gods.
This whole thing is gonna be the worst supercut ever. It's gonna be like cut after cut after cut.
Yeah, there's gonna be no pauses.
Everything's just gonna be fucking half a word.
No, like I said, I'm just sending this directly to the police after I finish editing, so don't worry about it, guys.
One goes down, we're all going down together.
So, I mean, we're back at the house with Georgie and Francesca. And
Huge
Sam.
part we did miss, which is another thing that's touched on just to add to the scary parts of it for these kids, is that mom does turn her phone off because she thinks the person calling is her fucking cheating husband that just died, and Sophia was picking up the phone to call her off of that phone.
Yeah.
And she hung it up and put it and just turned it off.
Yeah.
After
Then she
Mr. White
pretended to throw it in the woods and actually threw it in the pool.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was a great callback. I was like, where did this pool come from? It's absolutely wonderful.
Gone as quick as it came.
But we're back at the house. Georgie and Francesca and Sam actually. They start getting at Sam about how she's lying about doing the
fuck.
doing the little big
dirty
fuck.
bitch shit.
And then Sam kind of goes. For some reason, she knows to go to the basement, which I don't exactly. There's disconnect in my head.
There's a huge disconnect in this entire part.
Yeah.
None of it.
I have no idea why she went down.
So we didn't touch on the fact that Francesca and Georgie continued to hang out inside of the room, shitting on each other as usual. And while they're doing that, they are wearing the masks, which is yet again probably the creepiest part of the entire movie. And again, also multiple fart jokes in this scene. This movie was basically an entire fart joke. Why the fuck did she go downstairs? There was no point at all because she was saying, "Okay, I'm fucking out of here."
Well, but we also forgot when Francesca and Georgie were hanging out together with the masks on, they found Dr. White's phone.
Yes.
And they started going through it.
Right,
and that's when they
saw the murders.
Pictures because he had previously found the Ferrari.
Yeah.
And the dead guy and Sophia's dad.
Yeah.
And so he took pictures of it, and so they saw those photos, and so at that point it's established in their heads that he killed Sophia's dad.
Yeah, so which builds the terror inside of that. And I'd like to also touch the fact that they did hear screams.
They did.
And then immediately forgot about it.
Yeah.
And then started the shit show again and just started pooping on each other.
Yep.
So, you know, Sam
You're such a lesbian.
Yeah, you lesbian.
Francesca. Well, you're a
fat
tranny.
Oh, why don't you keep eating those cupcakes, you fat bitch?
Well, to be fair, she had at least 6 of those cupcakes.
Oh, did you count now, Alex? Did you fucking count now? So anyways,
I just got a
Sam
feeling.
walks down to the basement. Stop eating.
Sam walks down to the
Stop
basement,
eating.
essentially, and she comes upon Ava's dead body.
Yes.
And not only that, but she's actually confronted by a mass killer, and
Yep.
she is stabbed in the guttural area.
Yeah, and
No, go for it.
No, who got stabbed again?
Sam.
Okay.
so
Yeah.
so in the midst of this part is what me and Tanner were talking about, was basically that they do end up finding the phone. And at that point, they're decided that Dr. White is actually the killer, and this is like a cutscene in between these two parts, and it does show a scene of Ava being killed, so that's how we know that she's murdered.
Yes.
In this scene, I did acknowledge that the killer was not a little girl. I would just like to say, it was definitely not any small human.
Yeah, and
This was a large man.
I don't disagree with you on that front.
I noticed in that scene there was a big man.
There are different scenes, though, in which we get different height comparisons, and I say
Yes.
would fall in line with a little girl.
Yes.
Which will play into my personal theory on what happened.
Okay.
And it sounds like I think you're on the same path that I am. But
I
I'm
think
not
I am
sure.
too.
Yeah. I like it.
I'm making my own path.
Sam does get away.
Yeah.
And as she's getting away, she does meet up with Sophia. And also in this instance, it does flash back to good old Piggy fighting with Francesca.
Yep.
And in this moment, they do split up, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
This is the same part.
Francesca ends up storming out of the house
Yeah.
at this point.
You're right. So she's...
I'm not a lesbian.
I'm not a lesbian.
Our voice acting is absolutely...
So Francesca storms out of the house, and at this point, Piggy's talking shit while she's walking out. Yeah, you dumb lesbian bitch, and saying awful things, derogatory, and out of nowhere, what happens other than oink oink oink? In this moment, Piggy do scream.
Piggy do scream.
And it is
She
similar.
screamed all the way
And this
home.
is why I noted in here that I did put Piggy got killed.
Piggy
Because
definitely got
in
killed.
this, she did have a scream that goes
In this scene too.
real high.
In this scene too, when Georgie gets killed and you see the killer, the killer is definitely of comparable height.
Yes.
And a little bit taller, which would fit the profile of Should we say, yeah, Kat. It fits the
Yes.
profile of Kat, is
Yeah.
what it fits the profile of.
So
We did skip over. Sam actually gets back to the house at this point, and she dives into the pool to retrieve the key.
right.
The killer tries to drown her in the pool, but stops after Dr. White pounds on the glass just outside of the pool area. I just wanted to note that.
Yep.
Probably get cut. I don't fucking know.
So
No.
in addition to this,
That's Sophia going for help.
dude, Sophia going for help.
So Sophia gets to the road. She's covered in blood, wearing a fur coat.
Screaming at the top of her
Screaming
lungs,
bloody
please.
murder. Please, please, dear God.
And gets
this
up to this
car-
nice car.
Did exactly what I would have done.
Don't insert yourself in that shit.
Flashes the lights, lays on the horn, and almost runs her over.
Get the fuck out of the way.
Dale.
What?
Forget it! Dale,
Yeah.
forget it! As they drive off.
And I gotta, dude, I identify with this guy the most in any part of the movie. Because in that part, I was like, if I see someone covered in blood, I'm not gonna be like, yeah, let's go find your friends.
Yeah.
Fuck
Hop in.
that.
Hop
Hell
in.
no, I'm not inserting myself. I'm out of here. And you know
Yeah.
what? That guy got away scot-free that night and didn't become a part of that news article. So, Francesca. What happens with our girl, Francesca?
Okay, so essentially, Francesca, after having run out, God, I don't even know what her plan was.
The
It
part
seemed
here
like
was very blurry.
it was very blurry
and-
because she gets apprehended by the killer.
And it was so dark.
Yeah, and
This
then
part was so dark. I had to
and then-
turn the brightness up on my TV.
all of the sudden, she's in the tennis courts.
And the tennis courts were not touched on in a single part of this
No.
movie, and it also wasn't even touched on after or
Yeah.
where it was.
I would like to say, if it sounds like we're introducing anything very rapidly at you, and this might be a little posthumous of me,
This is how
That's
it
the
came
movie.
in the movie.
Yeah.
this is how it came. Everything was very shocking, very
yeah.
rapid.
Everything was. Wait, how did we get here?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'd like to touch that this tennis court. It is a completely glass-surrounded tennis court.
It's a nice tennis court.
It's
It's
a
like-
real rich boy tennis
It's
court.
like a what's that game that you play in the gym where you hit the ball against a wall?
handball,
Yeah.
whatever the hell it's actually
Those
called.
always have
Ball mount.
clear.
Yeah, it's exactly like that.
clear like
Yeah.
walls
But
around.
all the way around it, it's like
Christmas
a
dinner.
box.
Yeah.
It's a complete box. Which is, again, a very artistic scene. And Francesca is inside of it, already just kind of cut up.
She's just
Able to
she's-
stand up and
she's
go,
basically left for dead. She's basically just left for dead.
Somebody
help
Yeah.
me.
help
And
help me.
in this moment, once again, back to the amazing, recording parts, once again is recorded.
We cut back to Sam, who's being intercepted by Dr. White in the house. Dr. White he's just as confused as the rest of these girls. At least in my opinion, he doesn't know what's going on. He's trying to console Sam. And Sophia actually sees this from afar. Sophia, the last we saw of her, well, other than trying to get help, she found the glove in the car. So she automatically assumes that A, Sam is in danger. I'm doing the A-B thing a lot. Yeah. I have a lot of
It's okay, just fucking do it.
alphabetized
Just say
points.
A, motherfucker.
Alphabetized points. So A, as in apple. Sophia sees this scene and she thinks Sam
Is
in
an anal.
This is so much longer than I was
This is a dumpster fire.
all right, let's go. Let's get through this. Fuck, this is gonna be
Okay.
a two-parter.
Back to the beginning of this part. Go.
Yeah. So, Sam's hanging out with Dr. White, having a couple martinis, and Sophia sees this from afar and just assumes Sam's in danger for some reason, which I thought was pretty rude. I would think if I was having drinks with an older man, that
I wouldn't want
either of
anyone to bother with me.
either of you would
Hey, you
have,
get your hands
yeah.
off him.
Yeah.
But on a realistic note, Sophia is at this point convinced that Dr. White is the killer.
Yeah. But she rolls up right behind the two of them, specifically behind Dr. White, and just pew pew.
Who? Good old
Sophia.
Yeah, she got. Oh, he
And,
got. I mean,
Right as this is happening too, the killer is outside and actually unmasks themselves to be bum bum bum
Catrick.
Catrick. Cat Saddle.
Kat Von D.
Cat Mondi. Sam's like, oh no, you just killed Dr. White. It wasn't Dr. White, it was Cat.
Oh my god, when that bullet hits
Yeah.
is the best acting I've ever seen in my life.
Dude,
It's
Timothy
basically
Hutton's a fucking God's gift to Earth.
stud. It's basically like I remember making videos when I was a kid on the YouTube
What?
and
With
making a
your
nice
uncle?
shooting video
Yeah.
with my Uncle Tom, and
Tom.
he made a nice shooting. He made a shoot part, and I said, "Oh, that's about how amazing this acting was." And in this instance, also, it's yet again recorded. No.
I don't know. That's impressive. If it is.
So there's
are
a
you
part,
talking about
shortly after this?
specifically Dr. White getting killed?
Yes.
That part? I believe
not that. Well, that part couldn't have been technically.
I couldn't tell you when Creeper Cam goes on in this sequence.
Because a lot of the
But there is, just to dispel what I think your worry is, there is a scene in which Dr. White is shown on the Creeper Cam.
Yes.
He is shown on the live feed.
yeah.
Which, that to me kind of quelled my previous thoughts and implications of him as a secondary murderer. That was the only, I mean, he still could have been, and I think you sound like you have a case that you want to bring up for that. Moving on, Sam confronts Kat after this, both wielding guns. Sam encroaches upon Kat. Kat says something along the lines of, "I can't take this anymore, I'm gonna end it," and blows her fucking brains out right as Alex is pulling up. And, I mean, that's it. We get an outro, which is essentially just a news story being broadcast about the whole series of events.
In China. It was like,
Yeah.
it only showed the newscast being broadcast in like,
I would have
not
to
America.
assume that if there were 6 girls who just kind of got massacred,
It would be international.
But again, I think it was kind of racist. They're like, "Oh, super techie! Look at all this tech stuff on the screen," and they're
Yeah.
like, "What's more techie than China?"
yeah,
Okay, big part here.
yeah.
In one of these murder scenes, there's a part that says @Bennett.
I was going to. Okay, so
Oh, we're on the same page there, buddo.
yeah. So
Because it drove
Tanner,
me nuts.
I'm going to ask Tanner. Tanner, who is Bennett? Does that name mean anything to you in the context of this film?
Was it Francesca's boyfriend, or was it it was one of the girls' boyfriends? I just can't remember which
It was presumably
Cat's boyfriend.
Kat's boyfriend.
Okay.
He was
So-
only mentioned twice in the film.
And both of them were of complete, like,
one. Well, she said that she
Just
kissed
throw away.
Bennett.
yeah. Well, yeah, and he was saying that he did not want her hanging out with him anymore.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
bad
and then the
influence.
dad
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
where is she? Is she with
And
Bennett?
so in the final scene, we do get one of the social media overlays where the top user, the top poster is Bennett, which would lead me to believe that the streaming and stuff like that was happening from
Was
Bennett's account.
None
So
other than Bennett.
either Bennett is either A,
Either A, subsection
Apple.
1.
either Bennett is some sort of alt handle that Kat uses on social media, which I think could be a possibility because none of the girls know about Bennett. When Dr. White asked them, "Is she with Bennett?" none of the girls know who Bennett is. It may have been implied that Dr. White had at some point had some experience with this Bennett character.
Correct.
But it was never anything that was fully concrete. So either Bennett is an alt account for Kat, or he is some legitimate maybe older male that Kat has been seeing.
Yep, and just been talking about in
Yeah.
general, thus giving her,
Now going back to in the sequence in the basement, how Alex was talking about the killer being a bigger male figure. To me, I think Bennett, an uncasted character, is our secondary killer.
Yep.
For me, I would go so far as to say is he was the almost the primary killer, the
I agree.
introductory killer, because we get timestamps both at the scene of the crime when the first live feed overlay is presented to us, and when Dr. White and Kat are having their first conversation. We see the time in the text that is being sent by Dr. White. The killings and that conversation were 2 minutes apart. And that text had been sent off 2 minutes into the conversation. So if we're giving credence to there's any continuity in the timeline, then that dispels any rumors about Kat or Dr. White having committed the original murders. So the big mystery of this movie for me has been, since I've watched it again, who was the original killer?
And if there was any actual intention in any of this fucking movie, because if that is true, that's exactly what I thought too.
That's true. That blows. That's actually kind of mind blowing that an uncasted character
Can be the main character in
would
a
have
way.
such a big role in this film. So I think for me, here's the big conspiracy: that this Boyd Bennett, who was dating Kat, was the original killer, and it was his job to kill Alex's husband and then plant evidence that would make it look like Dr. White had committed the job. I don't know if that tracks with anyone else. That's kind of the theory that I've come to that makes the most sense because, like I said, if it's not him, then who's the original killer?
I think he could be the original killer, but I think the motive involved with Dr. White isn't as, like... I don't think it took as big of a place as we think it might. Just because that's way too... For
Having Bennett kill Mr. White?
No, so like just having Mr. White...
Mr. White.
Being
be
framed.
being framed by this
scapegoat.
Bennett character that wasn't licensed.
Yeah. And well, we don't know we don't know anything about Bennett. He could be 18 years old. He could be a legally functional adult male who has been sickly dating this 12-year-old girl.
Yeah.
I would say it's not exactly out of the question for us to assume that he's A, very sadistic, B, very dangerous, C is in caramel. C is in caramel. but C, very sadistic, and even maybe intelligent. I don't know, lads.
I think it's a good theory.
Yeah, it's a good theory.
I would have to rewatch it.
A lot of that was pretty deep for me. I didn't get a lot of the other facts, but I did think Bennett played a huge role in it, and I think this movie was a huge fucking shitstorm where the director decided halfway through the movie to put a lot of parts in. I agree with the part of him in the forest being put in, and I also agree with the fact that they were like, yo, we put this Bennett guy in there, and we didn't do shit with it.
Yeah.
So what do? We make everybody think that we're artistic, pull a Jordan Peele. You know what I'm saying? Oh, big trigger
But
on that
99,
one.
here's the
Pull
thing.
it, pull a Jordan Peele.
5,000 people have ever watched this film, and I guarantee maybe 5% catch the Bennett on the top poster.
Exactly,
end
but
of it.
I think that's the beauty.
You think
because
that's
that's
the
a
point?
fucking once again. I said, it's a Jordan Peele thing where people think that they can just put this one thing at the end and go, this movie suddenly isn't as shitty now because it gives you some hope that it was something other than this very basic
Yeah.
plot, you know. But yeah.
I
mean, that was the emotional roller coaster of fucking hashtag horror.
But
Here we go.
let's close down. Let's close down shop. Let's go back to the legend. Legend of Ray Jameson. How many people died?
6 people, not including Ray James.
So we had, not including Ray Jameson, who
Disappeared.
was declared to have committed suicide.
Yes.
People who die in the film, we have Harry, we have his mistress, we have Ava, Georgie, Francesca, and Dr. White. And then we do have Kat, who does kill herself.
Do we?
I would give credence
To Clearwater Revival?
I would give Clearwater Revival Band a solid listen. They do good work. But what if this is all supernaturally driven?
Like, what do you mean? Elaborate on that one.
All right, what if it's an It situation where the whole Ray Jameson thing was set to happen every X number of years and it just so happened to
I get what you're saying, yeah.
So, what if our characters would normally be very rational? It almost seems weird to me that everyone would be so terribly irrational and non-human, inhuman, that there would not be any supernatural activity.
So what you're
involved.
saying here, Alex,
So what I'm
let's
saying-
dig this out.
Dig this hole.
You're saying that
Four winds
she
converge.
is a fucking directing god.
No.
No. Yes,
Better
you
than
are.
Stanley Kubrick with her
Yeah, no, this
imaging
lady
and
thought about the whole thing.
symbology and
All of these people are so fucking stupid that everyone's gonna pull out of this movie that They're not stupid because they stupid.
They
stupid because
Four
demon
wins.
makes stupid.
4 wins, demon conversion. I mean, there's got maybe reading a little bit deep.
Oh, a
Alex
little
is
bit.
like, listen, I've watched this movie 4
Listen,
times now.
guys.
I need more out of it than what it's offering
But
me
for me-
right now.
I get
I mean, we talked about earlier in the scene with the Ray Jameson thing, there was the medium who had predicted the 4 winds converging and predicted terrible fates to come on the land. What would you call Sam in this role of having her flashbacks, or not flashbacks, having her visions, because they weren't flashbacks unless you assume that Sam was the original killer.
Yeah.
I would say that we have all our roles filled. We have our killer, we have our 6 unlucky souls, and we have our medium. I would say it draws a direct parallel. Whether or not Tara Subkoff was intelligent enough to do that purposefully, I don't want to get taken down for libel
yeah.
or slander.
I'll do it. She didn't do that shit on purpose.
Please direct all mail to Tanner Cox.
So, I mean, this movie, you're comparing it to It, which is kind of...
No.
You are, and I think it's interesting because of the fact that I think this director takes a serious, takes very seriously Stephen King.
Yeah.
Because in multiple parts of this movie, I had a bunch of vibes that they were just trying to have the same amount of horror. Hence, the forest scene, very Jack Nicholson, very just out of his mind and didn't really make sense.
Yeah.
And also the part where the blood's pouring into the pool.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
That part and the winter.
Tara
Yeah.
Subkoff
Winter.
did go on record saying there was an interview where I read about some of her influences. She definitely referenced Wes Craven. I know for sure. I don't know. I can't tell you offhand if she referenced Stephen King, but I wouldn't be surprised too.
Well, she
I
didn't
see a lot
reference
of
Stephen
it.
King because she knew she was going to get the big copycat sticker on her movie if she said Stephen King.
Yeah.
This was obviously a fucking emotional
This
roller
was-
coaster. None of it made sense. It was all sporadic.
I think it all made sense, and you guys are too stupid. Okay,
I am an intellectual. I watch Rick and
Subkoff
Morty.
is out here she's playing 4D chess. You guys are fucking shitting in your own head, talking about rape.
Yeah, the other 5,000 people that watch this movie are also in our same fucking boat. But there's someone
It
out there
premiered-
on Reddit.
Wildest thing, it premiered at the MoMA, the Museum of Modern Art.
Whoa.
Yeah, it had a MoMA premiere where it saw a lot of artsy types fucking probably sitting around circle jerking and busting some nuts on Egg. I miss Egg.
I think
Can we
that
talk about egg?
the throbbing, pulsating egg.
I honestly, as much as I'd love for it to be about this crazy, deep fucking thing that you've created, I think it was just an allegory on social media being the devil.
Yeah, I've come to terms with the fact that
You're fucking stupid.
that Tara Subkoff is an actual literal god, and
Oh, yeah.
so if anyone wants to come to church on Saturdays, we'll be doing it
We'll
on
be
Saturdays.
worshiping Tara Subkoff.
We'll be drinking and doing synchronized swimming. So I think that's all we have for #horror. All right. Well, we have been the Films Have Guys. We are a half horror review podcast, half Japanese Star Wars poster.
And half do not sue us because everything that we said is for entertainment purposes, and I don't. Nothing that we said about these little girls should be taken seriously.
If you would like to contact us, we have a YouTube channel, we have an Instagram, we have a Discord, which you cannot get on because I'm too busy shit posting. Films Have Guys is our handle on everything. Thank you. Have a nice night.
Peace.
Bye.